Hello, my name is Cynthia and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Friday, January the 30th, 2022. We have 2 days left of the year, and I'm so happy to be here with you today to share with you a recap of the things that I created this year. I apologize for not being back sooner as I intended. Things have just been a little bit weird for me in my headspace, not as creative, inspired, not as motivated, just feeling a little stuck. So I appreciate your patience. If you are new here, I hope you enjoy what I have to share today. And if you are a returning subscriber or friend, thank you so much for your patience and graciousness as I have been working through some things. I've had several inquiries as to where I've been and how I'm doing, and so thank you for your concern and for thinking of me. I have a couple of friends that I text with, several that I've met through Flosstube, and I'm also receiving cards and gifts, and I'm so grateful for this community. And as a muscle almost, filming Flosstubes, if you don't use it, sort of atrophies. I feel like I've been sort of in this perfectionism paralysis, like, well, if I don't have everything finished, then I can't come on and film. And in the next year, I think, as much as I love to show finishes, I might be in more of a process of, this is where I am and this is what I've worked towards. Not that everything can be finished. I want to try to take some of the pressure off of myself of feeling like I have to be perfect or that I have to have everything completely finished every time I come on. That can be robbing some of the joy of sharing on YouTube versus having it be a fun hobby and outlet for me to just let you know what I'm up to. So sort of as a reminder to myself that persistence does pay off. I've got about half of the finishes I had last year, but I still have over 30. So even though it feels like sometimes things are slow going and you don't see a lot of results, a lot of these finishes that I'm about to show you happened over several years. They didn't happen in 2022. They happened from 2019 to 2022, or some of them happened, within 2022, but primarily it's just a reminder to myself to not give up and not to quit and to see your vision come to fruition, to want to make something beautiful for your home and to just chip away at the projects little by little, enjoy them, not feel pressured. And your home does start to transform. I've seen over the last 3 years that my home has become so much more personal and satisfying to me to be surrounded by things that I've created and that are just what I like. So I hope this is inspiring to you as well, that in the year ahead you continue to persevere and to see progress on your projects, not to feel overwhelmed, not to have so many going and feel like you'll never get anything done, but just to chip away. So here is the rundown of what I finished in 2022. Like I said, there's a little over 30. I don't have all of them with me, but I'll try to go in somewhat of a chronological order so that you can go back. I think I only have like 12 or 13 videos that I filmed this year, so hopefully I'll do more next, but it shouldn't be too hard to go back if you have a specific piece you'd like to see. There's a pretty limited number of videos this year for you to go back and get more information. I'm sure I'm forgetting details and other things. I'll try to tell you what I can. I know the pattern names, but I don't always know my fabrics and floss. The first one I finished, for example, is Shepherd's Sampler by Brenda Gervais. And I think this was an older pattern. I think it's just called Brenda Gervais on the pattern. It might be called With Thy Needle and Thread, but it's definitely older. You can still find it though. It's stitched on 32 count Lakeside linen in buttercream. And this is an odd piece for me somewhat because I actually stitched it one strand over two. So for 32 count linen, I usually, or 16 count Aida, I usually do 2 strands of floss just to have more vibrancy, but I love the way this worked. And I don't know if I just got lucky with my floss being, a lot of it is hand dyed. I know there's some Victorian mottos in there. I would say primarily, because this was done in 2019 or started then when I had been in the club that is no more. But so those flosses might be fluffier. Maybe they were more successful with one strand. But it's a beautiful piece. It goes on my farm wall that I was able to grow this year. I'll show you a few more pieces that go there because of the shepherds. And it has some of the funky sampler elements. It's actually based on an original piece, but it was an adaptation by Brenda Gervais. So classic border elements. It doesn't have to match up, which is nice. I appreciated that. And love the colors. Love the color palette. So red's one of my favorites. So that was my first, hold on just a second. My daughter's out of town and I just got a text. Okay, sorry, got an interruption there with a phone call. I had shown my first sampler that I completed of the year. I only had a few stitches to get it finished, so it really was mostly last year, but I did finish it this year. The next things I finished, I wanted to show because it's a timely thing for January. I have a lot of different little snowman's finishes and crafts I made. I'm not going to show you all of my crafts, but I have a few of them that I brought down. The first one I finished, and just saw a big thread, was this hands-on design celebrations pattern, and I do intend to go forward with this because it is just a cute, easy, quick stitch. I might actually end up getting more cubes though, because I'm finding that it's irritating to, what I do is just pin these around the edges. You can kind of see. And I think I'd like to glue it on the cube and actually have it finished with like some ribbon in there so I can actually display them all 12 across and then just pop them in and out of this drawer. It's real easy to do. You just kind of, you know, pop it in and out. This drawer comes from Hobby Lobby, and I won't buy 12 drawers, but I find that part of the reason why I don't enjoy this series as much is because I don't like refinishing this cube every time with the fabric. So anyway, I think that's what I want to do. So I have February as well, and I couldn't find it. I think I've squirreled it away in a winter box upstairs, but I know I did January and February, and then I did June, and I think that's it. So next year I hope to get more of these done. They are so cute and simple. I changed the colors a lot of times from maybe the brighter choices that Kathy Haberman used in her called for. I don't think the fabric is the same. For instance, I dyed this myself. It's just a lot of these are Hobby Lobby even weave because that's easy for me to get. So there's January hands-on design. I also did a lot of the strings. In fact, one I finished in fall and haven't shown you yet, but this was the winter Lizzie Kate. And the piece right now that I finished this on has Christmas on it in my window. So I need to get that out and pop this in, but I did shorten it just a little bit. I think I left off like a snowflake or something here because I used a different kind of Aida and it didn't quite fit on my finish. So I need to be more mindful of that in the future, but such a sweet little design. These ABC, or just strings, they're called, by Lizzie Kate, are quick and fun. And it had a bow with it as well. I also did an embroidery piece. Sorry, I'm kind of buried here with all of these different finishes. Oh, and this tree, by the way, is a Christmas gift from my second daughter, Sophia. It was from, I think, Walmart. And I have the box over here because I just opened it. It's called a cherry blossom tree, and it just plugs in with LED lights. I'm going to put it in my front room, but I thought that'll be fun to show for a little bit of background. So if you're wondering about that tree, it goes up to about 4 feet tall, maybe 5, but it's really cute. And the other winter guy here, I gave away several of these. They have a little group of charms here. This is a pattern from Chestnut Junction. I use her patterns all the time. And I traced this out on muslin. I tea-dyed around it with a paintbrush so that the snowman stays a little bit more white. I mean, it's not bright white, but it's not as faded as the edges. And I I kept the fabric dry and tried really hard. I could have probably used like a wax crayon and made sure that the tea dye didn't blur, but it actually was fine. So that's just an idea of kind of playing with embroidery. I enjoy to experiment, and these were fun. I have a little bit of wool on the back, and like I said, I made 4 of these. I gave away 3, and this is the one I kept. I thought he was so cute and chubby. So embroidery is a lot of fun as like a filler with your dough bowl designs, or on a hutch is how I have this. And I'll try to put a video at the beginning of my winter hutch so you can see how that looks all together. I also had a finish maybe 2 days ago of my winter whirligig. I completed all of the whirligigs. I think I've only done 3 of them this year. I did the summer one last year, but here's winter whirligig. And like I said, I just finished it a couple of days ago. I changed some of the colors on it. The pattern you can see here has more of a pink kind of colorway, and I made it more of my sagey kind of blues that I like to do for winter. Of course, it has the red bird, but I liked that green, which was just a DMC. And then I also added a couple things. I think I added that swirl there because I felt like there was a little bit of a hole in the design, but it's really cute, and it goes on. I could have popped it on today, but I gathered all the stuff together instead. It goes on here. So you can kind of see it's just going to be in my hutch, and you'll see that probably in a video coming up, or at least in a shot of my hutch on Instagram. I also did a punch needle from, oh, this is going to be one that I've forgotten. I actually got several of these on Black Friday this year. I like this designer. She has very good value for her patterns, and I know she does one that's a Santa like this, and she's got several other ones that are so cute. I got a goat, a cat, and one other on Black Friday for a really good deal. So I have those to look forward to next year. But this one I enlarged just a little bit. This snowman comes from Target. It doesn't have any kind of pricing on it. I don't know if they'll bring it back this year or not, but if you look for silhouettes, those are always nice to finish on. And the nice thing about punch needle is, even though it'll take a little more thread, you can always enlarge the pattern or shrink the pattern to fit whatever size you want, because it is just traced. So this probably would have only gone about this high with the way the pattern came, just about the size of your hand, and I enlarged it. So it was a better proportion. That's one of the other benefits too of having a piece and finishing for it. In fact, I talked about that in a video last year, and I'll show you some of those pieces that I actually stitched for the frame or for the finishing piece, so that they go together so nice. And that way you don't have to search around and try to find something after the fact. It works both ways. I'm gonna have to be looking for a frame soon that is an odd size, and I know that's not always easy, but if you can work it to make it fit the frame, that's always nice. The last one I wanted to show you for winter, at least I think so, yeah, is this snowman. I've done over the last 2 years a sew along, not a stitch along, but a sew along for creating primitive snowmen. And these were my results from last year. I seem to get sick every January, so I don't want to do another sew along this time. I might do another in the future, but no plans as of yet for snowmen. I have some wool applique snowmen I want to try to do this year, but I wasn't gonna really commit to that, just to see how everything goes. And I have it in this enamel bowl that was at my mom's house, and he sits on my hutch. He's pretty big, if you can tell. He's over 1 foot tall, especially with the bowl, but I really enjoyed making him, and I have more details about him on the Snowman Parade, so you can check that video out. Like I said, I think that's all the winter things I had to share that I've currently got on display, or that are going to be on display very soon, and hopefully you'll feel inspiration for your own winter decor coming up. Let me answer some of these texts from my daughter. She's kind of blitzing me right now, and then I'll come back and show you some of the things I did in the spring. Okay, I have a little stitching lady that I finished from Brenda Gervais. I do a lot of her pieces. I just am drawn to her, I think. Called, what is it called again? Needle and Thread. I did not put the text at the bottom because, as I had said a little bit ago. I was stitching for this specific frame. I found this at Michael's a couple years ago, and I wanted it to showcase this needleworker lady. And so I left off some things. I scooched some things in, maybe 10 stitches or more. And I didn't think that the lettering would be legible if it was, see, it's pretty poofy. There's definitely a poof to this, and so I didn't want it to be distorted, and it was just a lot less counting, to be honest. This skirt is hundreds and hundreds of stitches. I don't know if you can see that. So I was kind of ready for this to be finished after sitting in my whip pile for a couple years, and I love the way it turned out. I changed her face a little bit. I always do that with some of the more stern looking faces. I like to add eyelashes and maybe a little bit of, her eyebrows were supposed to be real thick and blocky like monobrows, and so I just do some straight stitches, some over stitching so that it's a little softer. And then those were some antique buttons I found at a antique mall, and I love that little stitch that's kind of couched on top. This is, I know, a floss from Color and Cotton. The called for is like a brown. So if you've seen this pattern before, it's usually got more of like a honeycomb color. But I used, now I'm forgetting the name of it. It's not Bramble, but it's Bracken. Bracken is the name. A really cool kind of heathery colored skirt, and her hips are awesome. I love it. So I have another needleworker I'm going to be working on next year, but I like to have some pieces that have personal meaning to me like that as a needleworker. So that was Needle and Thread by Brenda Gervais. I also did some garden pillows. I'll try to insert a picture of those. Just some freehands that I'd seen on Pinterest that said like spring flowers, spring something. And I played with my dye pot for a little bit to get some muslin that's a pretty color of green. So I did 3 of those. I put them with a little white gnome from Target. I also finished my spotted pig sampler here behind me. This is another one I stitched to the frame. This was a big theme around that same time of year. Everything I had I was trying to finish. These were Whipco pieces from 2019, including this one. And I knew that my frame that I really liked was too long. I could have, done like my friend Kim does on Contented Stitcher and cut this, but look at all the detail there. That probably would have been pretty tricky. So my friend Marlene Bush had suggested that I put this pig below the border because I knew I wanted to cut eliminate one of the pigs in the pattern. It called for 5 little pigs, and I put Mama. This is from my 4 children, and so this was a good idea by Marlene. I appreciate the collaboration we have in our community to give us good ideas. And I did add, I think, a flower at the top and space that out just a little bit. Maybe added another butterfly. It's a little bit, the murky fabric by Picture This Plus is a little bit dark in places, so it might be kind of hard to see like those butterflies. But in person, it turned out really cute, and I love the white flowers and the mama pig. So this is a favorite. It goes on my farm wall. It's kind of that juxtaposition for me of the kind of elegant frame with something a little more country or a little more rustic. But it still has some feminine qualities with the Stacey Nash borders. Her borders are always so pretty and feminine to me. I love them. So that was my Stacey Nash finish of the year. I don't think I did any more by her. I also had a sampler that I did with 2 friends, and I said I was going to get it all pinned and ready. It's still just propped in here, but it's been there all year and it looks fine. This was Though He Seemeth Sleeping by Lucy Beam, Love and Stitches, and it's a beautiful sampler. I changed some of the colors, used others. She provides like 4 color palettes, and I think I just kind of pick and chose from her color palette. I know I used my friend Frankie's Hey Jude floss there. It kind of variegates between brown and blue. It reminds me of Murky. If this was a floss, or if Murky Fabric by Picture This Plus was a floss, that would be it. It was a fun one. And then the Brown Bear border I liked a lot too, because it variegates quite a bit. This was a very meaningful piece for me. That message there is very special. So I love this sampler. I'm so happy to have it finished, and both Rachel and Becky, my friends that stitched it with me, finished it as well. I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. So those were kind of my big sampler finishes of the year. I didn't really have a lot. Otherwise, I have some that are close, and I hope next year to have more sampler finishes, but I did a lot of smalls this year, so that's just kind of the way it turned out. I did a Bent Creek row, and really like the way this turned out. I had used this natural color linen, and I picked colors similar to Priscilla. That's the first place I saw this. And also Christy of Java Girl Stitches. She had done this as well. I had some Victorian motto on those flowers. And I made my egg sort of a blush pink. I don't think that was called for. And I like the way the rabbits look. They're so cute. That one's kind of floppy there. And yeah, I love this finish. I had this board for another sign that I was supposed to make. It has cheesecloth on it that I had decoupaged on there, and it just wasn't working as a sign. And so I thought, let me make it into a backing for this, and I glued it on so it's going to stay for forever. And then I love this ribbon. That was a gift from a friend. So there's a spring Easter Bunny row by Bent Creek on, looks like 28 count natural even weave, that kind of a thing. And I also did the, I showed at this time the February celebrations that I've squirreled away somewhere, but I will find. I also made several birthday pillows inspired by Michelle McGraw, who had a couple of patterns from Etsy that she puts out her child's name with a birthday theme. I made some cupcakes, some felt cupcakes as well. I sent some to Michelle for a thank you. And I have more to do on those. I think I got 2 out of 6. And I have a birthday coming up for my son. It's so quick. I used just an alphabet from my Brenda Keys sampler motto book. I don't remember what that's called, but just any alphabet you want. I just wrote their name, or I just stitched their names on some dyed fabric. Sophia's was bright yellow with speckles. Emma's was on a more peach colored. Elijah's was on red, and it was just something fun to do for the family. So I did work on that. Those were a couple finishes and they're around that same time. I had a spring whirligig on the same finish. I have my winter one, but it's not down here with me, so I'll insert a picture of that. I did a punch needle of a rabbit on a spring, and that was a gift, so that's no longer with me, but I'll insert a picture of that. And I did a, let's see, I thought I had another bunny embroidery pillow that had walnut shells in it. It turned out real chunky and cute from Chestnut Junction. So those I will insert pictures of. After that, I did work on a piece from Not Forgotten Farm and stitched it for the frame again. This is Tomato Season, which doesn't call for this water can or this extra little swirl here, or even some of these swirls I added just because I got a little bit of a stain on the fabric here. I had some ink on my hand and didn't see it, so I stained my fabric very, very faint, but I went ahead and put some stitches over it, and I like the way that turned out. And then I extended this when I found this frame first. It's just a, what, 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. It's a 12 by 12. And when I put it in there, I realized I have too much on the side and not enough on, it wasn't square. So I added this text because of my mother. I have so much. This was inspired by her love of tomatoes. She would eat them like apples, and she loved to garden. So this was kind of for my mom. And I added a water can again from that Brenda Keys book. I stained this frame. It was like $3.99 on clearance, still on there. It had dinosaur paw prints on it. So anything you find, if you're creative, you can frame your things cheaply. It doesn't have to cost $80. $3.99 is much more my speed. And I used foam core and just popped it in there. I could probably pop it out pretty easily, but this stitching here was just back stitch that I made up as I went. And I think I put the year, yeah, CB22. So love that one. That was a lot of fun to stitch. After tomato season, I already said, but I haven't shown pictures. I don't think I made some felt cupcakes. And then I did a couple of graduation gifts, and I'll have to put pictures of those as well. They said, "Be still and know that I'm God." I dyed them colors. I asked the moms of these graduates what colors they liked, and so I dyed their fabric to match their preferences and just ended up with a little pillow like that to put with their graduation money and card. I also did Marian Librarian. Speaking of pillows, this is a hunka chunka one. This was one of my favorite finishes of the year, as much as it's kind of an oddball. I tried to make it a box kind of cushion and had some challenges. Not every side, like back here, you can see it kind of collapsed over here. Not every side was square, but overall it sits like a bag of sugar. It is just probably like almost 5 pounds, and I keep it on a shelf. I'm going to do a display with cats and books, and I have a couple more next year I'm going to be adding to this, so I do like it. It has some pretty sari silk with that was an old button from my grandma's collection, and then this embroidery fabric or this dresser scarf on the back I got at an antique sale going out of business place for like $1. I love those bullion stitches, I think that's called, and it kind of matches Marian's dress. So that's Marian Librarian by Lottie Daw. It is an old pattern. I found it on Shakespeare's Kitten Stitcher. Kitten Stitcher had it, but you might find it at your L&S if you have a store. It's not in print anymore, I don't think, but I have seen it. It's a lot of stitching. You can see that skirt. It took me several years to finally get it out of my whip pile, but I'm very happy. I changed the cat color too. I think it was, oh, that's got some little powder on it or something. I think it was a gray cat or something, but I have a tuxedo, so that's representing Gandalf, and I think I took away a bird that was here because it was simpler to do that. So love Marian, she's a favorite. I also did a summer celebration. I have half of this series done and love doing them. They're so cute by, and I always get this wrong, Country Cottage Needleworks, not Little House, Country Cottage. There's 4 of them, of course, and I know Priscilla did just the top, and I've seen several people do that, but I like all the words, just the different memories: swimming, sunshine, picnics, grass, lemonade, and vacation. And I did stitch this on vacation because it's super simple, 28 count even weave with some changes. I made these sunflowers, I know, and then I used a lot of Victorian motto flosses. I took away one of the beehives and made a bird instead, and it looked really cute on this easel that I'll show you later because I have the fall one on there. It had a little bow, but I don't store them like that. So that was a summer celebration. I did 3 little tiny sunflower pillows that a friend had given me some gingham linen by Weeks Dye Works, and they were just kind of freehand on one of them. The others were a bonus pattern from Priscilla and Chelsea. And so I kind of split it up because I just had tiny little scraps, and they went in a cute display in my dough bowl. I also had a squirrel on that same linen that was kitted out for me by my friend Becky Wilder. So I had 4 little gingham pillows that I shared in a fall video not that far away. And then I had a bee from muslin. Oh, I've made 5 of these little guys from a pattern on Etsy. I love to find creative patterns on Etsy that you can make yourself pretty simply. You just cut that out and paint it, and then it was supposed to have eyes. I never did put those on. It was supposed to have legs and be a garland. There's 5 of them, but I had some wire, what's this stuff called? Pipe cleaners. They've got cotton in them right now from a cotton that was nearby them apparently. But I dulled that down with some brown paint so it wasn't quite so glittery. And they're just lots of fun. They kind of just fillers in displays. I like to do that a lot. Around that same time, I finished Mrs. McGuire. This is a Pineberry Lane piece that had been in my whip pile for a long time. I used the called for DMC primarily. I might have changed that V-skep with a Victorian motto, but the colors are really simple. I did change the bees a little bit with some, what do you call that? Lazy Daisy stitch wings, kind of to coordinate with that wood that had a, what do you call that when it's burned in or burnished in from, this was from Target. I got it probably 2 years ago, but it's again stitched to the frame or stitched to your piece. I had eliminated a grapevine border up here that would have made this too big, and that way you can display it in a way that makes sense. And this is a little yo-yo from a subscriber. So love the way that piece turned out. I've actually overgrown my bee shelving that I have upstairs. I have like a double tiered shelf, and I'm gonna have to figure out what to do because I love bee patterns so much that I've overextended what I can display. But it's at the top of my stairwell, so I keep it up all year long, and that's a lot of fun. I also finished I'm getting toward the end because the last part of this year has been where I've really been kind of stuck. I was much more productive at the beginning of the year, but some seasons are like that. So I'm trying not to be hard on myself. I did the sunflower piece with, oh, I'm gonna fall over. It's farther than I realized. This was a beautiful punch needle pattern by Teresa Kogut. I saw the cross stitch of this at Silver Needle when I was visiting my family in Tulsa and realized, oh, it was a full coverage piece. And I thought, I don't want to stitch that, but I found it in punch needle. So even though it was the biggest, I think this is one of the biggest. I did a bigger one last year. One of the biggest. It took me quite a while of time, quite more than I thought it would. It was still so pretty, I think. And I used some Valdani threads that I chose myself, like the antique black for the hens. That's just one thread, but it variegates really nice. And then I think the brown was a Victorian motto, and then just DMC. Oh, and I used a pearl cotton for that white because the fill-in takes a lot of floss, and I love to buy just that simple pearl cotton from Hobby Lobby and just go, so you don't have to keep rethreading your punch needle. But that is a beautiful design from this antique mall frame I found that just has some kind of scratchy chicken wire. That's what I'm trying to say. So it has duct tape on the back, but it's still holding in. I wasn't sure. I glued it, kind of sandwiched it with some paper, and it's going strong. So that's worked out. I also did a Quaker piece from the work basket. It's a freebie. I've put these in a box somewhere and I have to figure out where they are, but I have till next fall. It was just a Quaker acorn. It had quite a bit of counting, but it was really cute when it was finished. I'll put a picture of that. And autumn celebrations. Oh, that's here. This is the easel I was referring to earlier. I lost part of it. The same Country Cottage needleworks. Now it's crooked. Oh, my washer's coming off. This was on a window pane linen. That was a gift from a subscriber. And I really like the way it turned out. I liked using that Jabco button that's called for. It's also called for some leaves, but I just got the bird. And I think I'll do that on the winter one as well. Just use the bird. But again, fun autumn kind of things that remind you of that: pumpkins, apples, leaves, cider, harvest, and baking. All very autumnal. And I used the same bow on my summer one, but I added this little fabric pumpkin from Dollar Tree. So now I have to make another bow for summer and the other seasons, but I've only done 2 of those series. So intend to do the rest though. Oh, and this one I finished on my last video, which was quite a while ago. But it wasn't fitting on the board that I showed you on. I had it on the same one that I put, let me just see if I can show you how much bigger it turned out. This is on 14 count, like a, what do they call that, oatmeal Ada? Kind of that rustic color. And then this is how I finished the first one. So you can tell just how, not even close. I guess this was 16 or 18 count Ada, and I didn't realize it. So the 14 count doesn't even come close. But I found this board at Hobby Lobby, and oh, I stained it myself. I sure did. This was really cheap. That's part of why I glued it all the way down, because I thought I'll just leave it like this, and I might pick up another one if I want to finish another string, because I think I still have 1 or 2 more to do. But the Thankful string has a turkey. I set it out though all autumn long because it still has, you know, acorns and Indian corn and leaves, and it's just a fun design. So this is one of those, you know, long boards, but it comes raw like this at Hobby Lobby, and I just put some dark brown paint. I don't even think that's stain, it's just paint. So I haven't shown you all that yet, all finished. And this acorn was also from Hobby Lobby. Just glued it on a wired ribbon. Sort of simple but fun. Set that in my hutch, and then we're almost done. I had another whirligig that I don't have with me. It's wherever that little squirrel pillow is and the acorn, the Quaker acorn. It was just a autumn whirligig. Now I have all 4 of them, like I said. And then I did a cat embroidery with jack-o'-lanterns from Chestnut Junction. It was finished on this arch frame. I don't have that with me either, but I'll put a picture of it here. And then I did my tree for Prairie Schooler. I feel like I had more to show you, but I think that's it. And I had 3 punch needle ornaments and 3 Prairie Schooler Blue Moon ornaments. That was on my very last video, so you can easily go back and see that if you're interested. But I thank you for letting me go through those 35-ish finishes that I did for 2022. If you want to see what I've done over the last years, this is my 3rd video like this. It helps me to, like I said, feel encouraged and inspired, even though it feels like you're not doing a lot. When you look at the bulk of it over the year, it really does start to fill your home. And over 3 years, then you'll really start to see the difference. So just keep plugging away, just keep stitching. And I thank you for your time. As I say at the end of all my videos, may the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands. That's in Psalms chapter 90, verse 17. I hope to return soon to show you my plans up ahead for the year, probably within a couple of days, and hope that you can join along with some of those plans, and that your new year is blessed and that you enjoy your family. Take care.